I will just share my screen. I will just share my screen. I will just share my screen.
Everything's fine. Clique sur muted. Clique sur muted.
Everybody hear me well now? Yeah? Okay, that's a very great fail. Okay, nice. Hello, everyone. Sorry for that. Okay, everybody hear me well now? That's okay? Yep, I presume that's okay. It's a pleasure to welcome you. I am Felix, and I will be the MC for this event. So let me introduce you the Paris TypeScript team. So tonight, Lilian will handle the stream, and Paul will communicate on Twitter and moderate the chat. First of all, thank you all for watching this third Paris TypeScript online meetup. So as you see, I got some slides to introduce you this meetup. This is our 27th meetup since the Paris TypeScript creation, and we organize a meetup every 2 months on the first Tuesday. We make various events like regular event, special event where we focus on some topic, apéro, where we drink and sometimes talk about TypeScript, and online events like right now. If you want to support us, we are on Open Collective. This money allows us to pay the meetup, the domain name for the website, to record events, etc., etc. If you want to discuss about TypeScript and stay in touch with the Paris TypeScript community, we have a Slack that you can join. We have also a GitHub repository, but I will talk about it later. We also have a YouTube channel, like you see, where you can see the past recorded event. So all the Paris TypeScript team is on Twitter. The meetup also have an account where we publish information about the next event. So if you don't want to miss the news about the next event, you can follow the Paris TypeScript Twitter's account. We also have a GitHub repository, as I say later, before, where you can submit talk on issue tabs. We always search speakers, so don't be shy. We can help you, no problem for that. We search every level, every topic, and that's all. Also, thank you to our Lil Bro Paridino meetup that helped us to set up this online event. Thank you very much. And now things get real. Let's talk about the program of the day. So the first talk is about refinement types by Piotr from Flick.tech. Then we have why we need the true types and how it works by Andrey from JetBrains. And the last but not least, Gitmoji Flow, a journey to commit like a hipster by Sylvain from Aircall. So that's an awesome program. Thank you to all speakers. We are very happy to have you. You can follow them on Twitter. Last thing, if you have some question, you can use the hashtag question on YouTube's live chat. So now it's time to begin. Thanks for your attention. And now let's get started.
Hi, hello, can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
It works. All right. Hello, I'm Piotr, and this is refinement types in TypeScript. All right, so what are these refinement types? Refinement types are a tool we can use to gain more control in our code base. As with everything in software engineering, everything is a trade-off, and we often trade off speed for control. On this spectrum, some Python spaghetti code without test may be a proper solution if you just want to pitch your startup idea to somebody and you're in a train and your meeting is in few hours. You don't need control. You just need to get your stuff working as fast as possible. If your application is critical, if you really don't want anything to go wrong, if this startup you pitched became super successful, you may want to consider moving on the right in this spectrum. Maybe you will even rewrite your Python code to idris proofs. So you are sure that if something compiles, it's exactly what you meant. We're about here in TypeScript, and our untyped JS projects we are often converting to TypeScript are like about here. And we can use refinement types to gain some more control. But what are these refinement types? So I learned about them from a quite an interesting paper from University of California, which presents an implementation of refinement types for TypeScript type system. It's way easier to read than you'd expect it to be. I highly recommend it, but that's just a paper, right? We can use it in production. So maybe we can. Since it's just math, right? It's just a concept from type theory. We can create a solution currently in TypeScript, simulating that concept. What is a refinement types from Wikipedia? It's a type endowed with a predicate, which holds for any element of the refined type. Okay, so we have two types, a refinement type and a refined type, and a predicate, a function that takes that refined type and returns a Boolean. So for example, we can have numbers greater than 5. Our refined type is natural, and our refinement types are numbers greater than 5, and greater than 5 is the predicate. All right, that seems pretty easy. We can use it, right? We have predicates in TypeScript, and we have lots of ways to declare new types. Let's try that. What can we refine? We can refine arrays into non-empty arrays. We can refine strings into a number of different strings which are really critical to your business logic. But trivially, we can refine numbers into even numbers because the predicate is pretty easy to write. So let's do it. It's just a meetup talk. Is even. That's it. That's my predicate. A function that returns a Boolean. But I need that refinement type. I need to somehow insert it into our type system. So I could say type even is number, but that won't work because all numbers will be even then. And I can assign grant even, for example. Or it could be read-only is even unique symbol. I can prefix it with underscores because this won't appear at runtime. let's keep branch for brevity. All right, so now 3 stop being even, and we can't assign it anymore. The error message is okay, number is not assignable to even. So I'd like to somehow connect my predicate to it. If x is even, I want it to be assignable to even. Fortunately, in TypeScript, we have type guards or type predicates. And we can say that this is not only a predicate returning a Boolean, this Boolean has a meaning in our type system. So is even takes a number and tells us if x is even. Nice, awesome. So other thing I'd like to do is having a constructor for my type, because I need to create values, right? So if x is even, I'm going to return x, and I'm returning an even number. And otherwise, I'm going to throw new error and say x is not given. Cool, nice constructor. We can use this to get some inline values here. Nice error for 3, proper result for 2. If we're not big fans of errors, because we need to catch them and they make stuff, they're not really explicit in the type system right now. But you can't really see from the signature that this can throw an error. We'd like to use some other way to represent errors. Okay, so we can import either from FPTS or any comparable type used to represent results. And let's create a nicer constructor. X is number, and we're gonna return either error or even. Bracket. So if is even x, we're going to return right text. Return. Otherwise, we're going to return left with the same error as here, because I want to have that call stack and a line number in the error. Let's try that. That's right 2, and that's left 3. Pretty simple, huh? Okay, so if it was that simple, there are certainly tons of libraries doing it. And new type TS and IOTS by Gitmoji are probably my favorite. But you really don't need them. You can just use that brand, and you can import it from tons of utility libraries. I published this one because I couldn't install FPTS in the project. So that's it if you're doing it a lot. I highly recommend a blog post by Gitmoji on functional design and smart constructors. This paper, as I mentioned, is quite easy to read. Okay, maybe not quite easy. It's easier to read than I expected. And Wikipedia article about refinement types is pretty good. These things, especially refined library for Scala, are quite interesting. And I published a blog post about refinement types, but it's mostly this talk. And this is my sixth slide. Thank you for your attention. And I was Piotr Monwid-Olechnowicz. I post at Twitter as Hasparus, and you can read my stuff here. Thank you.
Felix, are there any questions for Piotr?
Do you have any questions in the chat?
No, I don't see any question in the chat. Try to see, but let's wait for 1 minute. We got one.
No. It's not mandatory.
Sorry, I talk the same. Can you repeat? I don't know if they hear the questions.
The question is the functional programming part mandatory? And it is in the chat.
Okay. It's certainly not mandatory. You can, as I mentioned, refinement types are just a math concept, right? So you can use them anywhere, and you don't need any library or any paradigm to use them. TypeScript supports them with type guards and with this nominal typing hack, so we can create new types on the boundary of your type system, and this will totally work with classes. This will totally work in any paradigm you're using.
Okay, nice. Thank you. I see no more questions, so we're gonna go with the second talk. Thank you, Piotr, for your talk.
Thanks.
And now it's your turn, Andrey.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, let's start. So you also can see the slides, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start. My name is Andrey Starovoyt, and I'm going to talk about the question why we need the true type in TypeScript. Just a couple words about me. As you have noticed from the previous slide, I'm working in JetBrains. I am WebStorm team lead. I think it's interesting fact that actually I write Java and Kotlin code, not JS or TS, because WebStorm and all our other IDEs are JVM-based applications. But of course, I still have to write JS and TS because we write JS and TS IDE. And I work on support for JavaScript, TypeScript, JS6, and a lot of other technologies. So I understand how the technologies works. I understand how the TypeScript compiler works. And also on the WebStorm side, we have to write something close to the TypeScript compiler. I'd say that it's compiler, but it doesn't produce any kind of JS code or something like that. But in general, we still have to implement the same type system. We have to implement the same type checking rules. And it is the reason why I decided to give this talk. So let's start with the true type. And let's discuss the syntax of the type. TypeScript 2 introduced this type, and syntax looks very simple. You just use the true literal in the type context of a variable or return type or something like that. And after that, you can assign to the variable the true literal and nothing else. So actually, we have a type that accepts only one possible value. We don't count here null and undefined because it's a different topic. But in general, you cannot assign to the variable anything else, and it's look weird for me. So the question is why we need the type? And first thing that I realized that actually we have something like this. We had something like this in TypeScript before. For example, TypeScript 1.1 had the feature that is called string literal overloads, and you can define string literal types, string literal inside types or overload function. And the use case is very simple because we have a very general function at even listener, and we want to support type checking for the functions too, for the function too. And we can do it with the string literals. Like we define some literals, and we also define the second type that it's used for type checking, more specific type than generic. And as a result, we have a good type checking. Also, we can specify our return types and so on. Okay, after that, we can construct a simple example with the true type. For example, we can define two overloads that just accept true literal as the parameter and return string, and second accepts false as the parameter and returns number. And of course, we have to write more generic signature that returns string or number union type here. And again, it's just a synthetic example because we constructed it using the information from the previous feature of TypeScript. But actually, after checking definite type repository, I found that people use it and use it a lot. And here just an example of such usages from the typings of not, and it's exactly the same pattern. You have true, you have false, and you have Boolean parameter that and the function returns in the third case something common, like union type of the types. Okay, we found a good example why we really need the type, but actually I believe that the main purpose of the type was different, and I can explain why. Let's check out the features of TypeScript 2, and as you can see, there are a lot of features that are related to control flow analysis and type guard. And I believe that the literal types in TypeScript, number, Boolean, and enum types were added because of the control flow analysis, to improve the control flow analysis in TypeScript. Before we start, just a couple of words about TypeGuard, how it works. For example, we have two classes, cat and dog, and we want to check that inside of our function, we work definitely with the cat. And the instance of check allows to compiler understand that actually inside of the block, the real instance of animal is the cat, not the wolf, not the dog. And as a result, you can access all the method and properties of the cat class, and you cannot access method of the dog class. Okay, let's do the same thing with interfaces. Let's start write the same code, and after writing this code, we understand that it doesn't work. Compiler doesn't understand instance of iCat, and the reason is so very simple, because compiled code doesn't have any information about the interfaces. And the instance of iCat, it's something that runtime doesn't understand. And compiler inform you that you cannot use the interface in the runtime context. But we still want to check that in some places of your code you work with the iCat interface, not with iDog. How we can solve it? Actually, there are several ways. First one was shown in the previous talk. There is one more thing that was introduced in the TypeScript 2. It's the feature that is called discriminated union types. And the idea is very simple. You just mark the interfaces with the same property, but the type of the property is not the same literal type. For example, it can be cat and dog strings. And inside of your code, you can check the property with the literal. And after the check, compiler understands that inside of the block, you work with the iCat instance, not with iDog. And the best thing here is that you cannot pass to the function something wrong. You always need to pass kind cat with the meow method, because otherwise it will be a compiler error. Okay, what's about Boolean literals? Again, we can do the same thing. We can just construct a similar example from the previous slides. Let's talk about generic type result. For example, we have the result, and there is an implicit contract that if there is the success, if the success is true, there is the callback that we can call. But if the success is false, there are no any callbacks, and you cannot use call it. And the main issue with that type that based on your setup, you can call, or you always can call the callback, or otherwise you cannot call the callback because of strict checks. Because the compiler doesn't understand that there is some relations between the success and the callback. But we can easily to fix it just by rewriting the type into two different types. First one accept true as for the success, and also it should implement the callback method. And the second time just success false. And after that, you can use true and false in your code to ensure the compiler that you work with some of the instances. For example, you still cannot call the callback directly, but if you check the success property, compiler understands that success is true. But if the success is true, then there is the callback that we can call. And again, we have the same strict rules that you cannot pass to the function something wrong with the success true, but without the callback. Okay. And at this moment, I want to say that case closed, it's the reason why the literal types were added to the TypeScript 2, because it allows you to use a very sophisticated patterns in your code to ensure the compiler that your code is right. Okay, and I just checked again different type repository and found that there are a number of patterns that use the same idea. Like you have two callbacks, two results with the success true, success false, and you have some general types that is a union type of the results. And it's interesting that the previous example was just imagination of me, but actually there is code that use the same pattern. Okay, but from me, there is also interesting question how it works, because now we have two different types, true, false, but also we have the Boolean type. And the interesting question, what is the relation between the types? And I want to discuss it a bit. So, again, let's start with the semantics. Let's define a variable with the type true and assign to the variable the true value. And after that, we understand that we can assign the variable to another variable with the true type, but we cannot assign the variable with a false type, for example. It definitely makes sense. And of course, you cannot assign to the current variable anything else than the true type, as we discussed before. Okay, it's a pretty easy example, but what's about this example when we have just a simple variable and simple assignment here? And if we start to check the same thing, we understand that actually the type of the variable is true, because you still can assign the variable to a variable with the true type, and you cannot assign the variable to a variable with the false type. But you can assign to the variable false type, and it breaks everything. At this moment, we understand that actually we have two different types. First one is declared type of variable, and the second type is inferred type of the variable. It's something like based on the current context. And after assignment the false value, the behavior of the variable is opposite. You can assign the variable to a variable with the false type, and you cannot assign the variable to a variable with the true type. And so after the assignment with the false value, you have inferred false type, not the true. Okay, what's about another thing, like return type of function? For example, we define a variable and we return the variable, and we want to calculate the return type of the function. If we start with the simple example, when we have a variable with the true type, like type definition, and we also have at this moment inferred true type because we assigned the true value, and sense that everything here true, and the return type of the variable of the function should be true. And yes, it's true. But what's about just assignment without the explicit type? Now we have two different types. First one is declared type, and second type is inferred type. And they are different. And the question is, what is the return type of the function? And the answer is Boolean. And at this moment, we can decide that, okay, it's a declared type, definitely. No ways. But if we check with a more sophisticated example, if we have a union type as the type definition of the variable, we check what is the result type of the function. We have true, we have Boolean or string, but actually the return type of the function will be still Boolean. And usually I do something like this after that, because it doesn't make any sense. And you cannot just explain it in declare it and infer type. After some investigation, you can find that actually return time is something but related to the inferred type, but it's not exactly the inferred type. Okay, and I want just to repeat it. We have two different functions with two different true types. First one is define some true types that's strict and it behaves like a regular type. And in the second case, we have something with more relaxable conditions. Like actually, we can say that it's true type with something like widening. And if we have the variable with the widening type, it can be extended to the original type of the literal. And how it works. Literal types. In TypeScript, we have types with widening and without widening. Everything from runtime by default has literal types with widening. And some operation widen types. Okay, let's talk about widening operation. First one is the return types operations, because we just recognize that there is the widening type just because of the return type. One more example is assignment operations. Assignment operations. Previously, we discussed that if you assign to a variable true literal, the declared type of the variable will be Boolean. But why? And the reason is that declared type of the variable is widen type of the literal. And also, method calls also can widen type in some places. As in this example, when we have a generic function and we have an object or return type, and after calling the function with the true literal, the result will be widen. Okay. And the worst thing here that I showed couple of operation, and there are more of them, but there are also some exceptions here. Like if you have a generic function that return not the object type, but the type that it's the generic parameter, the return type will be the true type, and it will be the true type with the widening. And if you pass it to the previous function, it will be widened, and so on. Okay. Just a couple afterwards. Okay, we have two functions, get Boolean and get Boolean 2. And they are very close, and the return types are so different. But we can fix it just by adding explicit type to the type for declaration of the function. And it fixes fixes everything. Because if you add explicit type, compiler understands your ideas. Compiler don't have to calculate all the different widening rules and so on. Actually, also other users understand the return type, so you can just check the signature and you understand that in this case it returns Boolean, and it's fine. And also it helps IDE, because again, IDE does a lot of work that is similar to the compiler. And for example, on the WebStorm side, we spent a lot of time just by implementing the same widening rules that there are in the TypeScript compiler. So just use explicit type, folks. And that's it. Thank you for listening.
Yes. Thank you, Andrey, for your talk. Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you, Andrey, for your talk. Thank you very much. Yes.
It's the echo issue tonight.
Yeah, don't forget to close the stream YouTube.
Do you have any questions?
We will wait, I think, 1 or 2 minutes. Question from Arta, from the Paris TypeScript team. Is there a refinement you would like to see in the future? Andrey?
Sorry, could you please repeat the question?
Yeah, Arta asked, is there a refinement you would like to see in the future?
Is it a general question for everybody in the stream?
I don't know. Maybe.
Actually, I don't know.
I think, Piotr, you could answer that if you have some answer.
I can say a couple of words because from our side, it's a pain to implement every new feature of TypeScript compiler. But in general, it's awesome because TypeScript team does a very great work. It extends the type system to the places that you don't think usually.
I think we have a question from Piotr also. Andrey.
Yeah, the question is, so true pipe undefined for flags, hot or not?
And again, it's a difficult question. I'd prefer to use the question mark for the parameter, like optional parameter instead of it.
Yeah, I think that's all. Thanks for the answer. If there is more question on the chat, you could reply directly to the chat. Oh, no, one more question. There is a question from Roman about what about const instead of let? Are these less surprises?
I don't think so, because it's still have the same issues with the widening. You still, after assignment, the const value without the explicit true type, you still have widening type. And after some operations, it can be Boolean, not the true. And it can be unexpected in some contexts. But if you specified the true type as the time annotation, everything works like you expect.
Great. Thanks for the answer. So I think we will go for the third talk. And if there are more questions for you, Andrey, you can answer directly in the chat.
Fine.
Okay, let's go, Sylvain. It's your turn.
Let's go. Do you hear me?
Yep.
Yep, good. Let me just share my screen. All right. Is it okay, Felix?
You check on the live. I will not put the sound for no echo. Yeah, that's okay.
Okay,
Let's
good.
go.
So a lot of good code. So it's now time to commit that. So just take your beer, guys. Take a Corona. It's probably the best beer name in 2020 because it's the relaxing time. Let's have a talk about Gitmoji, sorry. So first, who I am. So I'm Sylvain. You can follow me on Twitter. I do a lot of things in the community. So I'm a co-organizer of both TypeScript and Paridino. I also do a lot of TypeScript and Node.js, etc., etc. And for me, the emo things, it's really something quite old because I'm in this business since 1998. Yep, I was really young with my first internet connection. So it started like that for me. Don't know for you, but currently I'm more using that. Also, I like to do funny things with emojis. So here it's my friend Sébastien during my time at Microsoft when we decide to replace all the faces of attendees with emoji based on emotion because we want to take care about their privacy. So the commit message topic, it's probably, you know, this situation. Yeah, it's probably a former employee, a previous guy we were in the company. Instead of doing putting the right commit message, he put just the fixed one. So you know, it's probably maybe it's you next Monday when the production is in fire and you have to fix that. You just want to know what happens and you just have these poor messages. So it's quite a serious topic. But it's not that easy. So I don't know for you, but most of the time I'm like that, spending a lot of minutes choosing the right message because it's hard. And it's also really hard for newcomers, especially if you don't have guidelines for that. So when they join, they have no idea how to contribute to the project on this part. So since a couple of times, we have a convention for that. It's called the conventional commits specification. So a lot of projects are currently using it. So what is conventional commits? So it's a set of rules for your history, for the history in your repository. So how it works? It's super easy. You have a format. So you need to precise a type. You give a context and you put your message. So you start with two types at the beginning, the fixed one for bugs and the fit one for new features. And if you want to commit a breaking change, you can use the exclamation mark to give the information that this is a breaking change. Of course, the types can be extended easily with this model. You can use, for example, the impair or the char are quite famous in conventional commits. And one of the best things with a convention is the automation. It's super simple. You can do a lot of things, change log, semantic version, etc., etc., etc. But there is a problem with conventional commits. So someone shared this tweet on Twitter with me. And I think it explained really well what is the problem, is that, you know, normal humans can text really vertically, sorry. And with the conventional commits, of course, you are in trouble to have the right information inside the commit message. But just keep calm. It's better to do conventional commits than nothing. So one of the questions is that emojis in commit messages. So I remember that one of my previous teammates shared that with me when I joined a new company. Wow, it's perfect. You need to try emojis. and my first reaction was more like that. Really? In professional context, use emojis in commit message? Come on, please, be serious. So, and I just saw that because the first time I saw emojis inside a repository, it was more like that. And my first impression was, wow, oh, this guy is so happy to move his code on GitHub. But, you know, I just didn't understand that it was a Gitmoji. So the question is, why considering emojis in your commit message? And the first answer is that they are super expressive. You know, I pick some emojis and I will never explain you what it is. You already know that a phone is a phone, a bug is a bug, etc., etc. The second part is it's super easy to read when you have, for example, a list of messages like that. If I ask you where is the bug, probably your eyes directly look here because you know the bug emoji, so you know where is it. And also it fixes one of the problems with conventional commits. It's the normal human scan text. So it's really, really, really great because everything is done correctly and you can really read that super fast. So, of course, if you want to do that, you can use emojis by your own and establish a convention. But we have Gitmoji. It's a convention based on emojis, and you can consult that on the website. I will show you that later. And if you want my opinion on that, it was me after the first day using Gitmoji. So now, for me, it's the only real one. You can do another thing. So you can try to change my mind, but now it's super hard. And now let's take a look on some example from the Gitmoji guidelines. So the basic one, you have the bug and the sparkles. So those ones are dedicated to fix and feature. So it's similar to the conventional commit ones. And what I like is that it's really, you have a lot of possibilities with Gitmoji, especially for the refactor and the improvement. You don't just have improve or refactor inside like conventional commit. You have a couple of choices. For example, the basic one is the refactor code with the recycle emoji. You also have the truck when you move a file, for example. You have the zap when you improve performance. The building construction for architectural changes. And another example, it's the art one when you format the code or improve your project structure. Also, you have a couple of really useful emojis for package management. For example, this one, to remove a dependency, it's quite clear, it's a minus. You have the plus for the add dependency, and you have the same for upgrading, downgrading dependencies. So it's really, really, really interesting to have that, because if for some reason you have a problem, someone upgrade a dependency and ship that in production, and the production is broken, if you just take a look on what happened, you see the emoji, you are pretty sure that this is a problem with the new dependency version. Another example is the testing one. I like this one, the clown face for the mocks, quite funny, and you have the white check mark for everything related to tests. And I will not list everything because there is a lot of choices available in Gitmoji. But here are some other useful emojis. I use them a lot on my daily work. The first one is the fix CI build with the green earth. You also have the Sinoevo, a classic one, just to update your Git in your file. The rocket for the deployment. You have the rotating light for all the links. The boom for breaking change. We're gonna talk about that later in this presentation. The construction worker for all the CI builds, and the range for the configuration files is probably the emoji I use the most in my job currently. One of the interesting things also is that because it's emojis and there are a lot of emojis available, you can extend it. So as you can do that with conventional commit, of course. But just an example, if I put that, probably this is something related to Docker, and it's quite clear. So this is some example around that. So now, if you want to follow the Gitmoji guidelines, you can use a CLI for that. So the CLI, it's really the best way to start working with Gitmojis. So there is a package on npm for that called Gitmoji CLI, and I will show you how it works later. So here you just have to launch the command, and you have a couple of choices. You can search them, and you can choose the right emoji for what you have inside your commit. Also, you can do, also, if you didn't notice, I use an emoji in my branch name because, it works. So it's quite clear. The other things, because your commit messages can be used to automate things, you can do change logs. So it's really, really easy to do because there is a package built by Ivonic. It's a French guy. I think he worked at Zenica. And he provides this package, and you can generate a change log based on emojis. So let's take a look on those tools. So here, the first thing, you have the Gitmoji website with all the guides. So here you can find everything you need. There is really a lot of emojis available. For example, I didn't use the lipsticks, but you have it for the UI part, etc., etc. You can click on the emoji to have the emoji, or just click here to copy paste the emoji code. So if you just start with Gitmoji, you can use this website. It's really great, and it's up to date. And for the package, it's here. So you can find that also on GitHub, of course. And you have a couple of commands here. For example, you can set up the commit hook for Gitmoji. You can also configure it. For example, if you have science commit, you can do a search, and also one who is really important is the update one. If you want to sync the emoji list, because sometimes there are changes. And last but not least, this is the change log. So here you have all the details around that. So I just use it with the basic options on my side. You can customize some outputs. And let me just show you how it works. So oops. So here I'm inside my terminal. Let's do a change in the README. Updates README. Wow, that's a change. After that, you just add it. Use the Gitmoji CLI. So you have a couple of choices. So for this one, I don't know, maybe it's documentation. So I will put this one right in doc. Look at your message. Yeah, look, this is really an amazing message. Nobody uses it. So yeah, and after that, so on my side, what I did is for the change log, I use the Yarn version for that. So in my package.json, I have a script just to execute the change log when I will use the Yarn version command. And also in the Yarn RC, I have something to do a bookmark. So I will have a tag in my repository. So everything will be ready if I want to deploy that. So here, it's really, really simple. I just use that. So maybe this one is a patch. Boom, job's done. Everything is generated. So I have my new change log. So now it's the version was incremented on the here for the patch by 1, and I have my commit here. So it looks like that was not done, not that bad. It also will generate links if you put, for example, links from Jira or stuff like that. And yes, I can show you inside the history because I have my script, so I have the tag now here. So, okay, let's go back on the presentation. Oops, sorry. Okay, so yeah, so now you don't really have excuses if you want to if you don't want to generate changelog and you are using Gitmojis. The package will work really great. I use it on my project and in my company. It's really a great one. Last topic on that is the semantic version, and it's not really a big deal with emojis. Here it's really a basic rule, so it's a major if your messaging contains the the breaking change emoji, the boom one. So of course you can just do the diff between two tags if you want to do that correctly. For the minor, you don't have the breaking change emoji and you have the sparkle one, so it means that it's a feature. And for the patch, you have you don't have the breaking change, you don't feature, it's all the rest. So I think I will try to build a package for that. It's not super hard to create, and nobody really created, so I didn't find something around that, but it can be really useful. So I'm close to the end of this presentation, and the question is that, wow, is it perfect? Maybe you're asking that, and the answer is yes and no. So Gitmoji is great because of the readability. The story is super clean. Everything you have all when you take a look on the history, you find you are looking for something, a bug or feature. Your eyes will automatically go on the right line. So it's really, really great. But you know, we have a couple of problems. For example, the terminal. So this is a screenshot from my terminal in macOS, and of course I'm using the emoji code here, and it's not correctly printed. So I don't know if there is extension for that. There is also other packages to do that, not Gitmoji. So to do emojis in commit message, for example, you have emoji log. If I remember, this package will not use emoji code, for example, only real emojis, real encoded characters, so it will work in your terminal. So you have to keep that in mind. And also, hello VS Code. So in Gitlens, some emojis are not correctly handled. So I don't know why, to be honest. I didn't really take a look on that. But I just noticed during my the preparation of this tool that I have a problem inside Gitlens. Also, it depends on which tool you are using at work for you. So I'm using Bitbucket in my company, and the emojis are not consistent. If you use the code and if you use the encoded character, it's not the same at the end, and so it can be really hard to read an history if you aren't really consistent. So you need to take care about that and be really strict. And last one, really a super important topic is accessibility. So for me, it works great, but what about blind people? I'm not really sure that it's super great for them. And to be honest, this is a topic I really want to take a look on it, because maybe there is some solution for that. So okay, so it's all for me. So if you have question, just feel free to ask. Looking at the chat. So yep, so yeah, I noticed that Nico sent. I didn't talk about that, but yeah, you're right, Nicola. You can use the bookmark one for the minor major check. So this is the emoji I use. Is my screen shared yet? Just to be clear, I use it here to do my tags. So I have it inside here, inside my history. Yep, good point. Question. The hard to read code problem. It's a good question, to be honest. I don't know what I can say about that. It's it's a convention, so you need to be strict. So it's not that easy, because hard to read code. You have emojis to put these kind of things, like the poop one, or you say here it's bad code, need to be improved, or readability problem, or you have the beer one if you're drunk when you write code. But yeah, it's not really easy for that. On my side, every time I apply a convention, I'm super strict, so I always work like that. So I always share with my colleagues that we need to be strict on that. But yeah, it's not that easy. And yes, I think there is a configuration on Gitmoji CLI. Yep, there is a configuration section. Ah, labels. I'm sorry. Yep. The one, this one, but it's 4 types. The real one is the bookmark, if it's for major or minor. This one, mark 1. So, did you add the scope in your title or message? Yes, I did. And sorry, Felix, I read the question directly from the chat.
No
Yes,
problem. Let's go.
I did. So I start with that, and my opinion is mitigated. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's more complex to read the commit message. So from Takeshi, how long did it take to you to master the meaning of the different emoji? Great questions. Great questions. So I think it took me one year to really have a good workflow with it. Yeah, 1 year. But I think you can master that faster, because if you take some time to read that and understand the workflows, it's okay. And also for the changelog, I discovered this package, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago. So it was the first time I saw that we can do automatic changelog with Gitmoji. So, and I think this package is quite young, if I remember. Yeah. Why not use UTF-8 emojis? Good question, Frederic. So Gitmojis rely on emojis code. If I remember, you cannot change that. I'm not sure. So I only use that. But my problem is the problem I show. I'm a terminal guy, so for me it looks like that. So it's really bad. But if you are not happy with that, you can probably use the emoji log package. This is another one that uses UTF-8 emojis, if I'm right. And I think we don't have a question. It's the same actually. Yeah, probably the same. Okay, so if you don't have other question, I just want to thank you all for your time. Thanks, and see you.
Thank you, Sylvain, for the talk. So this is the end of the meetup, I think. So we will close the live. Thank you, everyone, to join us. And I hope we will see you in 2 months. So what will be the date in 2 months? We are in November, so probably in...
it will be January the 5th.
January the 5th. Okay, so see you. Thank you all. Bye.